have time for everybody's questions, but I'll get things started here. So you're telling a story and making a documentary really in medias res, so in the middle of a story that's unfolding before our eyes. So can you talk about some of the challenges of telling a story in the middle of this bigger story that we have yet to see the end of?
Yeah, well, the way I started this is I had watched the Paul Sadler Ted Cruz race in 2012, and at that time I felt that there was a lot out there about either person. Actually, there were some debates that were pretty good, but in terms of real meat and potatoes information, I didn't think there was a lot. And when I picked up the Statesman and read that Beto O'Rourke it was one of those cases where he clearly was going to announce, but wasn't explicitly saying it, that he was going to do that. I thought, well, this would be interesting. And I went out to El Paso for his announcement. That was on March 31st of 2017, and shot that. And I've been shooting off and on ever since, up until August the 2nd, on this in the film. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's not, wasn't really a big problem in that I didn't want this to be another version of the news. Like, there's no way to do that. And I felt the thing missing had been the perspective of Paul Sadler and or Ted Cruz earlier. And so that's really what we set out to do from the beginning. And then, so we started early with Beto because he started early. This is a significant thing. Like, he started campaigning a year before Ted Cruz started campaigning. And Ted Cruz was being a senator, right? So we followed him more than we did Cruz earlier, and then when Cruz started, we followed him a bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about the access that you got to each of these guys?
Well, we were with Beto longer because we started earlier. In the end, we got 2 interviews with Beto, one that was 40 minutes, one that was 20 minutes. And we got one with Ted, and it was 40 minutes. And it was a very cramped schedule, and we asked for 30 minutes and they gave us 20. But then we sat down with him, he extended it to 40. So it was great. He was very generous and very nice to us, and they both, for both campaigns, it's more a question of scheduling than anything else. Like, they're incredibly busy, and it's hard to. And that interview with Ted Cruz was in a Mexican restaurant at 5 p.m. So it's like during happy hour. This way you can hear a little bit of noise under. Yeah.
That's great. What questions do you all have for the director? Yes, right here.
I was actually wondering if there were the questions that were asked both candidates, were they like pre-thought in advance and depending on their own character, or did you have like a template of questions and that was similar for both to answer their own?
Yeah, so tell us more about the questions that you asked each candidate. Were they different and based on their campaigns, or did you try and give them both similar questions?
Generally, they were the same. But, I did research about both of them. And so, like, Ted Cruz has a bigger story. Like, that's a harder story to tell because he has a public history. And he's done lots. Well, compared to Beto, he's done a lot more. So, like, I in both cases, I had questions that were specific based on what I knew. But then the things that are always interesting are the open-ended things that about both their fathers, for instance, and all that stuff. And the thing about the Peter the Great, like all that came out of like the interview with his mom. So, but yeah, it was just tailored, but there were a lot of similarities in both interviews.
Questions? Yes, in the back right here.
Yes, was there any reason that you didn't mention the fact that Ted Cruz was born in Calgary, Canada?
So tell us about the choice not to mention that Ted Cruz was born in Canada.
Yeah, no, I actually had edited a piece about that, and we took it out because that really got litigated in the last time we were in. Like, people who are politicos know about that, and it turns out evidently it's not an issue, so I didn't put it in there.
There was one in the center that was first, and then I'll come down here. So yes, go ahead.
Where are you screening your film?
So tell us about where the film will screen.
All right, so it plays here tomorrow twice, and then it's scheduled here through Tuesday, I think, as of right now. And then Sunday it plays in Nacogdoches, and Monday in Tyler, and then the following Thursday in Houston, and then El Paso, and then Lubbock, and Huntsville, and McAllen, and Fort Worth. And people, so we have a lot of book screenings, and people are booking more. Like we're signed up with a company called Tug, and it's an on-demand theatrical service. And so we have a schedule that's in San Antonio, it's going to be in Amarillo, all over, and actually New Jersey and Washington, D.C. Like, you can book it anywhere you'd like.
There's some others in the center. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, so all of this you filmed yourself, none of it is clips from anything?
No, there are clips from things in there,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so the bacon incident?
Oh,
The what?
the bacon, the
Oh,
Ted Cruz
bacon,
bacon.
yeah, that's
So when was that?
that was during the presidential campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah, right here, and then we'll come down here, yes.
Well, I noticed in the film a lot of the time you showed a lot of the different protests and events that were happening, that have been happening over the past 2 years.
Right.
And I was wondering if you saw any correlation between what happened with the Tea Party kind of building up Ted Cruz and what's happening now with individual groups and other grassroots groups building up candidates across Texas.
So the question is about the observation that you did on the Tea Party and how that gave rise to a candidate like Ted Cruz. And are we seeing something similar with what's happening with Indivisible and others on the left now in this
I think
election?
it's somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. People are agitated the same way the Tea Party people are agitated. So it's like there's a response to that. So.
Right here.
We saw Beto's mom and his wife, but I didn't see Ted Cruz has a family.
Yeah, well,
So the choice there was this, involvement of the family members in the case of Beto, the way he's represented here, but not Ted Cruz. So talk about that choice,
Yeah,
other than his father.
Yeah, well, and we tried to leave out the families as much as possible, except that when I booked going to El Paso, I did try to book his mom and his wife. And I think that the reason there's less of it in Ted Cruz's story is because Ted Cruz's story is really long. Like it's so hard to cut it down. Like this is a 59-minute film, and we're trying to. And I think the last film I did was actually too long, and so like I don't want to break people in two with a movie that's just too much in it. So like if you tell them Ted Cruz's story, it's complex. And there's a lot of nuance in there. So like, with Beto, he has less of a story. So there's more room. Plus, I think that the key person in Ted Cruz's life is his dad. So he is the formative guy, and he's in there a lot. And so and the primary person for Beto is his dad. But the people who have to speak for his dad are his wife and his mom, essentially.
Yes, right over here.
What is it like to spend so much time building a film like this that has such a short shelf life? You've got like 2 months, and then it's history.
Okay, we'll talk about this person. This audience member says the film's got a short shelf life. So how do you respond to that in terms
I
of?
totally disagree with that. Like I think that this goes back to the initial impetus for doing this film. There's not a document like this about Paul Souther and Ted Cruz. There's not been a document like this before about Beto or Ted. We'll do an addendum after the election that will sort of tie it up, put a bow on it in the end. But yeah, if you can find another film like this, I would watch it. But they don't get made.
Yes, right here.
Have either Beto or Ted seen this yet?
Have either Beto or Ted seen the film?
Not to my knowledge.
There's one all the way over here on the right.
Yes, and all the way over here.
I liked at the beginning there was a part about a nonpartisan film.
Right.
And just to be a devil's advocate, I'm a big fan of Beto. But when did you get Mark McKinnon and Evan Smith involved in the film, who are, a little
Okay, so you liked the film in the beginning says that it's a nonpartisan film depicting the campaign. Talk about involving the people who you did involve as speakers, such as Mark McKinnon, who is a political consultant generally for Republicans, and Evan Smith, who runs a nonpartisan newspaper called the Texas Tribune.
Well, I had met Evan a couple of years ago. We did this film about Cameron Todd Willingham, and he's in that movie, and we met him, and so I was able to get in touch with him about that. Mark McKinnon, I did a political ad last year that went viral, and a friend of mine saw Mark McKinnon and told him, and then he loved it, and he got in touch with me, and I asked him to be interviewed. I mean, I think that, and actually Harvey Kronberg is here. Harvey, you stand up? Harvey is in the film. And, you know, I'm frankly happy to get all those guys, and it turns out everybody has an opinion. But they do know what they're talking about. McKinnon has a long history. I mean, that's the thing about all those guys. You don't have to agree with them to basically give them credit for trying to be as accurate as they can be. But yeah, everybody has their own perspective of everything. And I was happy to get David Richards, Ann's husband.
And I was just I just said to my friends here, if this was in a different auditorium,
Right.
say out in Midland,
Yeah.
you might have people hooping and hollering
Right.
about Ted Cruz opening his mouth and, kind of
No.
grimacing whenever Beto.
No, I kind of would hope that. I mean, that's the whole thing, that I really hate propaganda movies, and it'd be very easy to make. There's a lot of material, especially about Ted Cruz, that could have been in this film. It's not really germane to the argument, right? The argument is about the two guys, what they really believe, what their philosophy is, and how that becomes real. And there's plenty of material that you could, and people are familiar with politics, are familiar with that stuff, but we tried to leave it out unless it's like a trial. Like you only bring in the evidence that's germane to what the point you're trying to make. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, right here.
I've been to Tugg, it's TUGG.com,
Yeah.
right? Movies, and I was hoping y'all could clarify for everybody else, because maybe some people have never done this, but what you're saying is basically that people can go to their local theater and get this movie shown if they want by going to TUGG.com.
That's right. Yeah, the Tugg.
And how
yes.
else can we get this film shown? What are the ways
So
we
how else can you get the
film
film shown outside of Tugg, which is a platform that allows people to actually bring the movie to any theater that they want in their hometown, by booking it through the Tugg platform. It's something that
Right now
that anybody can use.
It's the dates that we have booked plus Tugg, and then the other thing that is set up is there's an organization called Texas Impact. That's an umbrella organization for mainline religious groups, and they're hosting house parties, so you can go to them if you wanted to show it at home with a group of people and discuss it.
Can you spell that or say that again?
I'm sorry, it's called Texas Impact.
Impact.
Yes, and we have a website. It's runlikethedevil2018.com, and there's a link for all that in there, for the Tugg stuff, for the screenings, and for the Texas Impact house parties too.
Thank you for your beautiful film.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
amazing.
Right over here.
How much footage did you end up shooting?
How much footage did you end up shooting for the film?
I really have no idea. I really don't. It's a lot. But yeah, I don't know.
We have time for a couple more right here.
I'm just curious, what political ad that did you shoot that went viral?
Tell us which political ad you shot that
Yeah,
went viral.
it's for a Republican. It's for Gerald Doherty. It's this ad about where his wife's trying to get him to run again so he won't be around the house. And, yeah, no, that's a crazy ad. Like, won a Clio and an Emmy. And, the guy I worked with did that Chad Crow's here somewhere. And yeah, so I'm interested. Yes.
So did you do Justin Nelson one then?
No,
Okay, we've got time for one more question. Is there one more out there? Yes, right here.
Do you plan to, after the election, do like a little add-on about the results and then add it to this?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna do that at the end, once it's all over.
The question was about updating the film.
Yeah, I want to recognize a couple of people here. The guy who makes the sound here, Korey Pereira is here on the phone. We have a very tiny crew, but Stefan, Alan, and Tomas Menick are here.
You guys should stand up or wave so you can see.
And then other people that help get the film made, Chad and Korey Crow, and there's something else important. I already mentioned Harvey. But thank you for coming. And the main thing you do if you enjoyed the film is to tell your people about it and have them come up, because I'm sure they'll probably keep the film here for longer. People can come and see it. And then if you go to the website, you can find out where it is, geographically in Texas, and tell people also. Or book a screen. We've already had several of those booked through Tug. But I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being